Today we're diving into what might be the most controversial question in Baltimore City real estate. Which neighborhood is better? This is a timeless question that we as agents get. This is something that people argue about to the death and feel very opinionated about. And today we are going to weigh in on which neighborhood is the best neighborhood for you between Federal Hill and Canton.
I'm Mike Mislinski.
And I'm Kelly Shuitt.
And today we're going to go over everything that you need to know, whether you're looking to move in the city, either in Canton or in Federal Hill.
Or if you're just trying to defend your position on which neighborhood you already live in.
So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can stay current on everything that we have going on here in and around Baltimore.
So Mike, today we are going to talk about what's arguably the most controversial question: which neighborhood is better, Canton or Fed? And if you're not from Baltimore, you might look at a map and think they're right around the corner from each other. If I live in one, wouldn't I hang out in both? The answer is largely no.
So obviously they each have their own very specific lifestyle and amenities that you can enjoy. So whatever fits your vibe is the one that you really should be going with. And it just depends whether you like to be really close to 95 or you really like to be close to the Inner Harbor. It really depends. And there's a lot to offer for each of them, and we're gonna break them down here today.
So let's start with commutability. What is the benefit of living in Canton in terms of commute? If you're commuting to which areas, it's better to live in Canton?
I'd say if you are headed up towards Bel Air or White
Anything
Marsh,
north.
Anything north.
95 north.
Yes, you wanna go to Canton for that. Just because it's on that side of the town already. You don't have to go down and through the tunnel and then up through 95. To get there.
If you're commuting within the city, Canton makes sense if you are going to Bayview or regular Hopkins campus. Both of those are very easy to get to if you are in the Canton side of the city.
And I'd say probably also if you're heading towards the Towson area, just because you're really close to the JFX, which is essentially 83 North, which merges onto 695. That makes it really easy to get to Towson. It's probably a little bit easier than living in Federal Hill.
All right, so let's talk about if you're commuting up 83. I would make an argument that you could be in Fed or Canton and get to 83 North almost equally as easy.
Depends if you are living on the far east side of Canton or closer towards maybe the middle.
It really depends which part of either neighborhood you're in, but it could be pretty equidistant if you're headed towards that 83 area. Now let's talk about if you are headed south of the city. You need to go to Annapolis, DC, Howard County. What's gonna be your move?
Federal Hill easily, just because you're right next to Camden Yards and Raven Stadium, which is right where 95 is. It's gonna take you maybe a minute and a half at most to get on 95 South, headed down towards all of our great things that we have down south in Annapolis.
Now, what if you're taking public transportation? You need to jump on a train.
Good question. I would say probably Federal Hill.
You gotta go Fed Hill. You got to.
Amtrak and Penn Station is right, I guess, almost dead north of Federal Hill, as opposed to Canton. You got to come through the city and go over towards it.
So commutability, depending on if you're going more north, you're gonna be on the Canton side. If you're going more south, you're gonna be on the Fed side. If you're staying in the city, you can really get anywhere you need to go. Baltimore is a very commutable, drivable, friendly city. So if you need to go within the city, it's not gonna be a big deal. There's also, we have a whole episode on water taxis. Definitely check that out because there's a water taxi that goes all the way from Locust Point into Fed, into the Inner Harbor, into Canton and Fells. It'll take you through all of the different neighborhood areas, and it's free for commuters during the work week. So if you need to go from one side of the city to another, that's a really easy, fun, scenic way to do that. Thinking about relocating to Baltimore? Well, I've got just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research, and I've linked it all down below.
From top employers to best hospitals and a boatload of other things, all the stuff you'll need to know before making the move to in and around Baltimore. The best part, this guide is entirely free. Just click the link in the description and the top pinned comment. Hope this helps.
Next, let's talk about food. Which has the better restaurants?
RIP to Mother's. Mother's is no longer in Federal Hill, a longtime staple of the Federal Hill neighborhood. So I will have to go with Canton.
Canton has Canton Square, which is gonna be a little hub of restaurants and nightlife where people tend to gather after kickball games and dodgeball and all of that fun stuff. And also just a place that people like to go party and hang out. And beyond that, there's plenty of little gems throughout the neighborhood, and we have a lot of videos about where to eat in and around both of these neighborhoods, so check that out. The other thing that Canton has that's a little different than Fed Hill is it has a whole kind of like suburban shopping center opportunity. So you have your Paneras and Chick-fil-A, a DSW, all of those types of like big box shops in the north side of Canton. So if you want the like normal, just go to everyday stuff, they also have that. So you kind of get both, where if you need to like run to a Target, you can do that, or you wanna, you know, go to a chain restaurant, they have some of those, or Fed Hill doesn't really have those shopping center type opportunities.
Fed Hill has none of that because Canton has that whole new side, which Kelly just explained. That's all brand new buildings, and they're expanding it too, so it's not even done. So there's gonna be more to come on that side of Canton. So that's really a huge reason, especially that Target, is a huge reason why people are moving over there.
You can tell that Mike is married with like 3 small children.
For sure.
He needs to know where the Target is.
You have to have a Target.
You gotta have a Target. On the Fed Hill side, food-wise, it's gonna be a lot more bar food, bar scene. It's a younger crowd, it's happy hours, it's drink specials, there's a lot of that. And you're also very close and very walkable to Inner Harbor. The Inner Harbor itself only has 1 to 2 restaurants, but it gives you convenience to other areas of the city that have better food options, I would say. But in Fed itself, it's gonna be mainly a bar scene, and a really fun and great one at that.
The one thing that makes Federal Hill more unique than any other neighborhood in the city is that it is where everyone tailgates for Ravens and Orioles games. So if you're going to a game, you're likely going to go down to Federal Hill first before you head over to the game.
So if you love sports and you love hosting and you love going to games, Fed Hill is a really fun place to live. Your friends are gonna love you because you're gonna maybe have parking or maybe have a pregame. That's gonna be a really fun place to live if you love going to those tailgates and those games. Let's talk about age. What are the ages of these neighborhoods? Who's living in them?
So if you have recently graduated from a local university.
He means Towson.
Towson, or Maryland, or Hopkins, or any of them, you're most likely going to end up in Federal Hill.
Federal Hill has a beacon for these students and is just shining a spotlight, drawing them into Federal Hill.
And if you think about it, what we just talked about, like it's more of like a bar scene. Young kids, bars, they go together.
It's a really fun place to live in your early 20s. It's a lot of young professionals, like in their 20s, early 30s professionals, and it's great. I will say on the other side of that, people move there and love the commutability, love how close it is to the harbor, and there are some very expensive, high-end, beautiful homes and neighborhoods there that keep people there forever. So just because it kind of has that stereotype of the post-college explosion, there's really more to it than that, especially when you move into areas like Locust Point or Riverside, you know, staying on that side of the city, but a little more of a mature neighborhood or mature housing option is available.
Yep. And they're building some homes over there too. So there's new builds that are going up periodically year after year.
Canton, you're going to find people who love the city and are a little more established. It just tends to have the vibe of an older professional, a lot more children because there's a little more room. It's a little more breathable, a little more walkable. So there's different school options in Canton that make it more accessible. So I would say people stay longer with children typically in Canton than Fed Hill. We're obviously really generalizing, but I think the older young professional to like young family is more prevalent on the Canton side, would you say?
I would say so, and that's mainly due to the aspect of them having a Target and Federal Hill not having a Target.
The amenities. It goes all to the Target with Mike.
It's always back to Target.
I've had the opportunity to live in both neighborhoods. I really enjoyed my experience in both. If you follow us at all, you know Mike and I are runners. We have a whole segment on running, and when I was running a lot and I lived in both at a similar time, I actually preferred Federal Hill for my runs than Canton. There's so much accessibility to good runs in Fed Hill.
And you're gonna get way more hills in Federal Hill. So you're gonna get more of like a dynamic run as opposed to Canton, which is like completely flat, and you really don't have any hills, I don't even think.
No.
Besides maybe the park and the small little
Yeah.
hills, but that's about
Maybe
it.
up the square. Yeah, and there's running clubs in both that you can get involved with and through the Inner Harbor, but there's just more running routes available, I think, in Fed, and it's just very walkable. There's just a lot of space. Hey guys, it's Kelly. I'm here with Mike as well, and as much as I love making these videos, there's one thing I love even more, and that's helping families and people from all across the country make a move here to Baltimore. I moved here about 20 years ago and I've never looked back. I love helping countless families make the move as well. So whether you're coming out next week, next month, or even next year, don't hesitate to reach out. My contact information is right here on the screen, and I've linked the description in case you missed the on-screen pop-up. Look forward to helping you and your family make the move to Baltimore. Let's talk non-food, non-drinking activities. I think that Fed takes this one. You have Fed Hill, you can walk or run to Fort McHenry, you have the American Visionary Arts Museum, which is an iconic arts museum, and then you have the entire Inner Harbor that has the aquarium, it has the Science Center. I mean, you have all of this at your fingertips when—
Seasons.
Oh yes, you have the Four Seasons. You have all of this when you're on the Fed Hill side, so there's a lot more than just, you know, bars and nightlife to Fed. And then like Mike said earlier, you have both stadiums, like blocks away from where you're living. So there's a lot to do there, and it's very accessible to a lot of the most interesting parts of the city.
Not to forget, also the brand new Topgolf and the casino is over there. It's
Close.
a little farther, it's a little bit past the stadiums, but it gives you really good access to, you know, some of those cooler events that people are going to these days. So we have a couple parks over on the Canton side. We have the Canton Dockside Park, which is absolutely beautiful. You get, I mean, it's right on the water, essentially. We have Patterson Park, and then we have a lot of like local businesses as well. So you're not just getting you know, row home housing, you're getting a little bit of mix of a lot of different things. It gives you a lot of different options to explore in and around Canton.
Canton has like almost a suburban vibe with a city address. So think parks, easy shopping, a lot of waterfront, a lot of walkability. It's easy to drive. It kind of just feels like a suburb tucked within the city.
If you're wondering about the different housing options, either in Canton, in Federal Hill, or any other part of the city, drop neighborhood in the comments, and we'll be sure to reach out with our neighborhood guide.
Both of these neighborhoods have similar price points and similar options. You can have everything from a very affordable condo or a one-bedroom house in the low 200s all the way up to over $1 million in both neighborhoods. So there's something for everyone, which makes both neighborhoods really attractive for so many different reasons. We'd love to talk to you about what that looks like for you on each specific house. There's so many different options and ways to put that together in either neighborhood.
So with all that being said, who's the winner?
We're curious what you guys think. Who is it, Canton or Fed? We're old and we have kids, so we both gotta say Canton. We're kidding. They're both awesome, and we love helping people in both neighborhoods because they just have so much to offer, and it's so fun exploring both of them. And since neither of us have the privilege of living in the city anymore, we love an excuse to get down there and work, and we have an office down there, and it's just a lot of fun.
Opening day is coming upon us very, very soon.
That is a day where people will be in both neighborhoods out celebrating the Orioles opening day. It's always the kickoff to spring in Baltimore and also the kickoff to the spring market in Baltimore City.
I'm Mike Mislinski.
I'm Kelly Schuett. Follow along for more updates and our monthly market update. We'll see you on the next one.